Systematically inside every cell of my body is a configuration of thoughts, emotions, and trauma. And how do I displace that, or at least get to that, so I can understand, why do I judge things a certain way? Where are my shadows? Why am I fiery about certain things? The more that you do a reconciliation of your soul and your processes, the more of the investigator you become.
That was Chervin Jafarieh, host of Wake the Fake Up podcast and a lifelong seeker of knowledge and truth.
Let's just look at our everyday life. And it starts with the basic things. How am I going to sleep? How am I waking up every rise? What water am I drinking? Am I properly breathing? Am I bathing in toxic tap water? Am I streaming on social media 24/7? Am I addicted to bad relationships?
Chervin shares insights in many different realms of study with the intention to awaken our highest potential. He is a pioneering force in advanced wellness, blending cutting-edge approaches from functional medicine, epigenetics, and orthomolecular science at Cymbiotika.
And behind all of those fundamentals does come your purpose in life. Like, what the hell am I doing here? Am I here to just distract myself and have some entertainment? Or am I really here to expand my thought, to step into my full power, to reach peak potential?
We are here today to transform how we show up in the world for the better, so we can in turn better love others and nurture our children so they are set up towards their highest potential.
You know, children should be morphogenetically and anatomically need to be looking outward. This like constantly looking down is lending itself into a major issue that we already have with the lack of nutrients, the lack of sunlight. And so going to standard school systems now, being forced to sit in the classroom 8 hours a day under fluorescent light bulbs, not climbing trees. Kids got to develop the faculty of intuition. The system has designed everything to perfection for you to escape. They are self-sabotaging their own suffering.
I am positive you'll want to take a big plunge in your own life towards new heights after listening to this episode. Welcome to the Ellen Fisher Podcast. Chervin, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for our conversation. I feel like there's so many things to touch on with you that it's hard to know where to begin. My first question to you is, what got you into caring about this topic? What's your story?
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. You know, we have mutual friends, and those mutual friends, I hold them deep in my heart, and they're high valued people, and they're doing amazing things, and they're people that have been part of my evolution over the last 10 years. So I just want to say that, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you, Ellen. You know, I don't like talking about the same things that everybody else is talking, because there's so much regurgitated drifting on social media over the last 5-6 years that at some point it's like, okay, let's move on from the same talking points. We get it. Seed oils are bad for you. We get it. You know, trans fats, we get it. Sugar is not good for you. All these things. I want to get more into the interconnected part of the soul on why we make the choices we make, and where we've, you know, stunted our own growth without becoming a victim to something outside of us. Because we can point our fingers at everything that's going on around us when ultimately we are the gatekeeper from within. And what is controlling our train of thought? What is the ultimate expression of freedom? Because of my background being an anthroposophist, which is the wisdom of man, the Sophia of man, which was created by Dr. Rudolf Steiner, I realized at an early age that if I was going to expand myself into higher levels of attainment through knowledge, information, science, health, I'm going to have to take it on personally. And I'm going to have to contemplate these thoughts through my own provocation, through my own spirit, through my own activism, and ultimately through a fundamental muscle called discernment, right? Where you're not deciding things based on judgment, which is predicated on fear. It's based on, you know, asserting yourself into the information, becoming your own scientist, taking initiative of your life, and looking at it very thoroughly, and then making a decision. And so how do we get back to nature? How do we get back to those things? Well, we first go inwards and we look at how we're currently living as an individual. Let's not put ourselves in groups. Let's not put ourselves in a collection of society. Let's just look at our everyday life. And it starts with the basic things. How am I going to sleep? How am I waking up every rise? What water am I drinking? Am I chewing my food? Am I properly breathing? Am I bathing in toxic tap water? Am I streaming on social media 24/7? Am I addicted to TV? Am I addicted to bad relationships? Do I have daddy issues or mama issues? Am I continuing to find the same issues I had with my parents, with my future partners nonstop? Am I karmic looping 24/7 on the same cycle over and over and over? These are things that I always say we have to get to the root before we can think about getting into the secondary or tertiary levels of life. Because without those fundamentals, which are non-negotiables, we're really just grasping at straws or dopamine hits or small short-term fixes without getting into the real root of our entire life's purpose. And behind all of those fundamentals does come your purpose in life. Like, what the hell am I doing here? Am I here to just distract myself and have some entertainment and, have some highs in life with some deep lows? Or am I really here to expand my thought, to step into my full power, to reach peak potential? What this reminds me of is this whole biohacking community that's like, what are you trying to do? You're just trying to live forever? Are you trying to be, cool in the pockets of health and wellness gurus? And, I'm doing the coolest and latest technology gadgets that are lowering my oxidative stress levels, and look at my CRP and look at my HRV and look at all these different diagnostics. Like, what is your purpose behind that? My whole thing is, the closer I can get to my spirit, the closer I can get to reaching peak potential, mind, body, and soul, is really what's driving happiness for me. Because when I'm in my full power, everybody around me in my community is raising up their emotional intelligence, their physical intelligence, their spiritual intelligence. I want to be that conductor for everybody around me, not because I can be recognized as that, but because I almost have a moral obligation to do so. And it's like, shareholders have a fiduciary obligation to making money. That is the recipe for disaster when it comes to big companies. I feel like I have a moral obligation to be standing in my power. And that's what drives me every day, to learn more and be the highest version of myself. From there, we can start understanding what soil science means, what minerals do in the body, what does hydration actually mean to the cellular level, what is the mitochondria. And outside of just the basic choice words around them or what we're hearing on the internet, but really fundamentally getting down to the details of this, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And so if you're laying it out there, your ability to expand and grow and heal and do all the things that people are striving to do, the momentum goes through the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like for me, a theme I have in this podcast, or anytime I'm working on how to be my best self, it's great to feel your best for yourself, but it's also for my kids, because I can only be the best mother that I can be to them if I'm feeling great. Because when you're not feeling good inside, it's a lot harder to be your best calm self, most respectful self, the example that you want to be for your kids.
That's right. Yeah.
And that applies to all relationships in life. Like you're saying, whenever you're encountering other people, the vibration of who you're with, it really does rise depending on, or lower, depending on who you're with and the types of conversations you're having and the energy you're bringing.
If you build authentic relationships with the people around you, then it's not about having to be at a certain level every time you're with them or experiencing it with them. It's about being able to be comfortable and share with them what's going on in your life, so we can honor each other and be there for each other. This fake facade of, I have everything perfect and I know everything and all these things, is really, setting us back in so many ways of growth. And that's another problem that I have with social media. And I think we all know that, is that, most of the stuff that we're seeing online is just a micro snapshot of someone's reality. And that's why for me, I don't want to share all my wins on social media. And I'm just there to drop clues and inspire people, whether it's taking them through expansive, poetic experiences, or sharing with them the experience I had with, losing my father, all the different things that have humbled me in life, and just bring the more human element, because I think the more human we are, the more that we can all grow and expand on this crazy journey we call life. Because This is an interesting dimension we've incarnated in with so many weird things going on.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a problem, social media and
Yeah.
online. And I think, I'm sure we'll get into this later in the conversation, just about children and the harm that they are being on a screen so much. And with their developing brains not fully understanding what they're even looking at when they are scrolling on social media. I think of all the young girls who are insecure, just figuring out who they are. I remember myself as a teenager, if I was scrolling on Instagram, seeing everyone with their impossibly perfect, whatever perfect, quote unquote, what we think perfect is, with their bodies and face filters that look so unrealistic. No one even looks like that in real life. And the amount of just all the different things that completely distort reality. And they start looking in the mirror and thinking that there's something wrong with me, because it affects how they're seeing their real world, because they're scrolling on something that's not even real. And like you said, just that, even the highlight reel, not realizing the wholeness to everyone's life and all they're going through.
You're absolutely right. I can't imagine the exposure that children's that are developing, that are still in theta wave as far as the hertz of their brain signaling, which is a imagination wave from, third trimester to age 7. They're in that state of consciousness where it's like in between the void and reality, where they're learning and creating, and they're just getting hit with all these different realities, which human beings were not designed for. We're designed to be in the presence of the people that are around us, our family, our tribe, and in that setting. And that's how we develop faculties of empathy and intuition and all of those things that are completely being erased now because of the construct of the material system that we're in, this technocratic, mechanistic world. And, it's so interesting seeing it come to fruition. I was learning about these aspects of evolution or de-evolution when I was a kid, through a lot of the things that I was learning as a child about some of the, I would say almost hidden constraints that were coming upon society. And to see that where we're at today, again, for me, it's like, I just see how families are suffering by not being involved with every moment of the experience. And I don't have kids yet. I do have a nephew and niece that I live vicariously through as a parent, through with my sister. And I'm always on them. When they're with me, it's like, look me in the eyes, communicate with me, tell me how you're feeling. Let's just be present. Let's not worry about what's going on around that corner. Like, who gives a shit? And none of that matters. That's an illusion. All we have is right now, the present. Like, be here now. And I instill that into them every moment I get. Where are you? You're here. And that, I can see the shift in them, And I'm not trying to say like, get the iPads and get all that stuff away. Well, I kind of am saying that,
Yeah.
but I'm not judgmental with that, because I understand that that's part of, the world that we're in right now. There are some positive attributes about technology and how we can fundamentally learn about the world and stuff like that. But just on the emotional landscape, with what you mentioned about women, the whole thing with the filters and looking a certain way. I also look at it physiologically, like, children should be with their heads up, morphogenically and anatomically need to be looking outward all the time. This like constantly looking down and the text neck and all that stuff is lending itself into a major issue that we already have with the lack of nutrients that we're not getting and achieving. The lack of sunlight, the lack of real spring water, the lack of mineralization, the lack of fat soluble vitamins like K2 are causing a deficit in the immune function and the immune system, which is then causing collapsing of the nasal passageway, and the palates are starting to not form properly. Now kids are having sleep apnea. Now their metabolic systems are falling apart, cascading issues downstream with hormone production. This is an epidemic of massive proportion. I think it's one of the most important things that anyone can talk about if they're into health or are curious about how the endocrine system works and all these things. So, technology and being indoors and sedentary lifestyle all lay directly into the path of us falling apart at the seams in human consciousness and evolution. That was a lot.
That was a lot.
You asked for it, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna just keep bringing it because I'm
No.
really passionate about these things. You know, because I can see it when I walk around my neighborhood in Laguna Beach, or if I'm in Hawaii, or if I'm in LA or at the airport, and I see everybody looking down at their phones.
It's like a Twilight Zone. It feels like we're in a Black Mirror episode.
We mentioned that before we got started. It's like Black Mirror hit a kaleidoscope and then multiplied it to the 12th power, and then just keep creating all these different angles. That's the reality that we're in right now, and it's imploding, constantly imploding, and it's getting more horrific and more horrific. And it's amazing. On my drive here, I was talking to a friend of mine, and we're actually astonished that, you know, people are still functioning to a certain degree. Like they're actually like still functioning. But when you really get down to it, and I look at the data because what I do for a living and my passions, the data is real. We're having an epidemic of new exotic diseases that are 20th, 21st century diseases. These are things that were never around, from the autoimmune stuff to some of the functional stuff. And it's a scary place to be. And a lot of people are suffering.
PregZen offers innovative intimates of period panties with snaps on the sides and moisture-absorbing technology that supports you in the best way while on your cycle. They're also perfect for postpartum use when your mobility can be limited, for easy dressing and undressing after birth. PregZen snap-on, snap-off, and Velcro side closures make being on your cycle that much better. No more pulling your underwear down along your legs, simply snap on or off on the sides. PregZen would make the perfect gift to a friend about to give birth, and their maternity line has a built-in belly band for your comfort. The creator of PregZen, Felicia, who is a dear friend of mine, struggled to put on her underwear during her first pregnancy due to water retention and sciatica pain. So she created an underwear line that you can put on without needing to bend over. Thanks to her genius patented design, anyone who struggles to put their underwear on, including those with limited mobility, pregnancy, post-surgery, and wheelchair users, can now do it easily and independently with PregZen. PregZen panties are comfortable, beautiful, and flattering. Enjoy this ingenious panty line and support a growing small business owner by entering the code ELLEN20 for 20% off their shop. I often bring these kinds of conversations back to kids because I can't help it, because that's the world that I'm in, you know, raising my kids. But the way that you're talking about with the phones and the tech neck and looking down and not being present, I mean, it's so prevalent in today's world. And I think a lot of people who are interested in this type of life where you're really wanting to become your highest potential are they're yes, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. But if they have kids, it's a lot more difficult when they're being influenced by their peers.
Yeah.
And as they get older, they become more influenced by their peers and less influenced by their parents. When they're young, it's all about the parents. And as they get older, and unless you like completely detach yourself from society, like go out and live in the boonies.
Did you see the video that I released today?
I might have.
I was on it. It was an interview. It was exactly what we're talking about. I was taking a shot at the state-sponsored school systems.
Oh, yes, I watched it.
You saw that, right?
Yes. I'm like, yes, 100%.
We're on the same page, right?
Yes.
And that's exactly what you just said to a certain degree. You know, your parents are your God.
Yeah.
At age 3, 4, 5, 6, because that's who you look. That's your role model, right? They know everything, and we're learning from them how to eat food, how to go to the bathroom, how to change our clothes. But once they get hit outside of that to the secondary field of connections, that's going to be the influence that makes the most impact at that point. And so going to standard school systems now, I'm not taking shots at teachers and stuff like that. Everybody's playing their part to whatever this whole thing is. But being forced to sit in the classroom, 8 hours a day under fluorescent light bulbs, not moving, not climbing trees, not expanding things, not learning the real mathematics. Like, who gives a shit about long division? Understand the fundamentals of the Fibonacci sequence and what numbers mean in nature and all these things. Taking away the intuition bug, right? Where the kids got to develop the faculty of intuition through a contemplative system. And that's a Waldorf method, is that we're going to build levels of you discerning through direct observation as opposed to indoctrination of a curriculum.
Exactly.
This is everything. And that's what you do for your children, right? Because they're seeing it through example, and you're speaking to them, and you're allowing the older siblings to be around the younger siblings. That's a condition that needs to happen.
Yep.
Putting every child in the same age class, in the same age group together, there's no fundamental evolution of learning from the more seasoned veteran.
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
It's
Like,
wild.
it is
Yeah.
wild. Like,
Yeah.
an 8-year-old should be around a 12-year-old, and a 4-year-old should be around an 8-year-old.
Yeah. Like
And
my littlest, who's 2, she's a monkey see, monkey do. Oh, my older brother's doing this. Okay, we're doing it. We're eating this food. Okay, we're doing it. But if no one else around them, they're like, wait, is my brother and sister doing this?
exactly.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Exactly. That's the human condition, right? That's what relationships relate are supposed to be doing.
And then this brings it to society. The more people that you're around that are in this state of always on your phones, like whenever I enter into like a DMV or somewhere, everyone is looking down on their phones. There's so few people where, have you ever just sat and just like looked around and smiled at people?
Yeah, I'm that weirdo.
Yeah.
Like when I go to the farmer's market or I go to the grocery store or wherever I'm going in public, there's 2 types of people that see me. One person sees me and is completely attracted to me energetically, wants to come around me, wants to talk to me, feels what I'm putting out. And that's the law of attraction, which is actually a frequency that's been researched and studied. We have a toroidal field around us. You're an electric body in a carbon-based suit. You're emitting a frequency. This is not airy-fairy. This is actual scientific quantum entanglement energy. There's another type of person that can't even come around me, that is repelled by me energetically, right? And these are usually people that have, they're projecting, they're traumatic, there's traumatic stuff going on right there. And so that vibration, that energetic like siloing of self is now running rampart out there, and it's become the whole new thing. It's spread all over the place, where what an opportunity to meet someone you've never met and to share and exchange. And there's learnings that could be happen. And that's something that Rudolf Steiner was always talking about, is anytime you meet someone is an opportunity to heighten your spiritual processes, to build faculties, to exchange some type of energy. And yet we're so, we're in this like build bigger walls, hide. And that's, I mean, we're in it right now. We're really in it. And then, I won't get into what happened years ago, but the scare tactics of fearing the next person has really created a whole system. But I see so many beautiful people right now that are stepping into their power, that are taking care of their health and really understanding how the body functions and how the body works. Community, which is communing, is coming together, and we've never needed it more than we do now. And I'm honored to be part of it, and however I'm part of it.
I think so many people don't realize how good they can feel.
That's right.
They're just thinking, this is just the way it is, and I'm only getting older, and it's just the slumping, versus realizing that you have control over how you feel and control over your life.
Yeah.
I think there's like a victimhood mentality versus a victor mentality is really huge, I think. So can you explain why you like Rudolf Steiner so much? Who is he? Who is this guy?
I don't know if I like him. It's beyond that. He was an Austrian scientist, clairvoyant. He led the Theosophical movement in the early 1900s and ultimately created anthroposophy, which is the wisdom of man and our connection to spirit and the Holy Spirit and the land. He created biodynamic farming and Waldorf education, among other things. He was an artist. He was a Renaissance man. He's someone that put out 1 million pages of information. He was streaming all kinds of different forms of consciousness, really a sage of our time and well beyond his years. And he painted it forward as far as where we're at today. He predicted the Great American Bee Collapse. He was very connected to the bees and understanding what the pollinators meant in our realm. And his cosmology on hyper-materialism, hyper-spiritualism, and those opposing forces, and the Christ right in between, is something that really is what I believe is his, legacy as far as the soul contract he had in this life. And he predicted that we would be in very interesting times around 2020. In fact, he said it in 1917, 100 years from now, we'd be entering a highly technocratic, mechanistic material world. the site that we have not seen in this epoch, in this timeline, whatever
Mhm.
this timeline is, the Kali Yuga, as the Hindus say. And we have a shot over the next 20 years to snap out of it. If we don't snap out of it, we're going to enter something called the eighth sphere, which is a completely dystopic reality where we've forgotten what we've forgotten. We're completely isolated in our materialism, and we have no connection to God or our Mother Earth. We don't even remember the attributes of our ancestors. And part of this is a configuration with artificial intelligence. And he predicted that 100 years
That's really
ago
interesting.
and wrote about it very philosophically and very detailed as a scientist as well, because he was a spiritual scientist. He was able to merge that. And his teachings and his clairvoyance really spoke to me at an early age. And it shifted the way that I viewed the world and how I viewed myself ultimately. And I continue to go through his research and his initiation protocols and his daily life exercises. I actually just did a retreat in Ibiza with Richard Rudd. He created the Gene Keys, and we combined the Gene Keys with the Philosophy of Freedom, which is Steiner's main work. And it's basically a vaporization of your victimhood. You know, it's ultimately like, how am I expanding out of the self traps that I created in my own conditioning every single day? Why do I do that? Why do I take the actions that I take every single day, and where are they rooted from? Like, systematically inside every cell of my body is a configuration of thoughts, emotions, and trauma. And how do I displace that, or at least get to that, so I can understand why I'm thinking a certain way? Why do I judge things a certain way? Why do I immediately get, resistant to this?
Yeah.
Where are my shadows? Why am I fiery about certain things? The more that you do a reconciliation of your soul and your processes, the more of the investigator you become. And so I think that's the main thing that is missing in our world. So when I talk about, I rise every day with sunlight, I get my feet out on the earth, I get naked exposure to sunlight for photobiomodulation, and I can activate all kinds of biochemical processes that I need to sustain life, to be expansive, to develop hormones like melatonin as an antioxidant, as a sleep hormone, so I can move my lymphatic system, all the things. I can list them all. All of that action is me practicing self-love. It's me saying I'm worth it,
Hmm.
right? It's very interesting, because when you get down to it, why do I do enemas? Why do I do detoxification? Why do I go on fruit diets? Why do I plant a garden? Why am I, what is the thing behind that? Well, if you really get down to it, if you do not love yourself, or you don't have value of who you are, why you are, where you are, then you have no incentive to do these things, unless you just do this certain things just to film it and put it on social media,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you can be recognized as someone who's got it all together,
Mhm.
as opposed to the mystic who never needs the exposure. That's the one thing that I have an issue with, even me being on social media. I'm very reluctant to want to, share certain things, because I should just be doing these things for myself, right? Of course, it's good to teach certain
Yeah.
things, but it can get out of hand, and I almost feel like I'm part of that hypocrisy, you
But
know?
like you need it. Like I get that contemplation, but it's necessary to inspire others because a lot of
Is
people
it?
do need. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it is. It
I'm conflicted
inspires.
on that.
I get what you're saying about there's always a balance. There's always too far in
Right.
things. But I think it is important to see the benefit of that, of people needing that inspiration. And there's so much you said that I wanted to respond to, but I think that like a great way to go into this right now from just what you were saying is for anybody listening right now that's trying to feel their best, but maybe they're stuck in a rut. They're like, I'm exercising, I'm trying to eat healthy, but I still feel really drained, and I'm just not loving life. I'm not feeling great. What advice do you have for them?
That's the age old question, is something's wrong with me. How do I fix it? I think the first place to get to is that there's really nothing wrong with someone. We're not missing anything. It's all there for us. It just comes down to how much value do we put in self. So I think that's the initial first step, is find your self-worth. and identify, what does self-worth actually mean to you? Is it your perception of self based on how you perceive others perceiving you? Do you get what I'm saying right there? That's the Maya.
Yeah.
That's the illusion. I learned that in Krishna 101, understanding, I if anyone's ever read the Bhagavad Gita, have you read the Bhagavad Gita?
No.
Okay, so this is, deep Hindu work, and understanding the Vedas is that, how do we realize who we are? Is it from our internal truth, or is it how we perceive others perceiving us?
Yeah, that could be an entire conversation.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's really the initial spot, because I can give you the lesson plan of what works for me, and these are all tools, and these are root force things too. But at the end of the day, it's, what's your why, and how do you identify as self? Because when you're in a false identity, you're not Ellen, I'm not Chervin, I'm just whatever people think this person should be. You're not in a good position. You're frustrated, you're angry. And when you're frustrated, angry, that means that your body is going to search for escapism. So you're going to go to escape. And what does escapism look like today? Well, the system has designed everything to perfection for you to escape. It's never been this full on. Like, you don't even have to.
They make it so easy.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's just a touch of your finger.
Yeah.
Before, you had to like run out to a cave or climb a tree, which are all good things for you. Today, it's just one little millimeter of your pinky. So you're not even calibrating vital force or a metabolic activity or an energy system. You're actually just deflating even worse. Because escapism is brought to you in every shape, system, color, as this entire umbrella of technocratic system is. It's unbelievable. And so, again, so you're angry, you're frustrated, you eat bad food, you become to your partner, you're reaching for things that aren't good for you. You're doing patterns that are bringing you further and further away. And then all of a sudden you hit rock bottom and you're totally in escapism. And that's why people are addicted to drugs. That's why people have addictions. That's why people are addicted to foods that aren't good for them, because they are self-sabotaging their own suffering. You get what I'm saying?
I totally do.
It's 101. So for me, it's identifying who the you are first and foremost. What is your purpose here? And then we can talk about what water to drink, what supplements to take.
Yes. Yeah. I think sometimes people can get afraid of being obsessed with the self, or like, this is selfish, but you're really not not seeing it on a broader perspective, that you will be your best self to others, because you cannot be your best self when you're feeling like crap. You're not gonna portray that to anybody in your life when you're feeling so down and not your best self. When you are your best self, it just shows up naturally and easily, and it affects everyone around you.
That's exactly right. I agree with that 1000%. The whole new age, dissolve the ego, feed the soul is completely word magic, because we all need a healthy ego.
Yeah.
We don't want to live in a false ego that has been perpetrated by scar tissue from unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
That you've developed this exterior and facade because you haven't gone into the pain and suffering of what you've dealt with throughout your life.
Yeah.
Right? It's a healthy, thriving ego, which gives you power and energy and pushes you forward and allows you to execute and have discipline. Like, the whole thing about not having discipline is crazy. What are all the ancient masters doing? They were all disciplined. Why are Yogi Bhajans hibernating in caves for 90 years? Is it because they're crazy? No, that's just they've incarnated it. They're probably going to the next realm in their next life. This is probably like an initial stage. Discipline creates flow systems, which create momentum. And that's how it is. And it just takes a couple tweaking in your day-to-day that all of a sudden everything changes. And I love that about momentum. And momentum can go both directions. They can go down into the dark pits of obstruction of your life, of systematic breakdown, of all the things that are chaotic to the mind, body, and spirit and body. The temple suffers. Or momentum can go completely to liberation and expansion and freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love your question that you're posing for them to ask themselves. Why are you here? Who are you?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't feel worth it. They don't feel good enough.
They don't even know what this is. Just think how crazy that is. Like, I didn't want to go deep into cosmology and all the and too spiritual, but like most people have no idea like where they're what this is, what realm this is, what this earth life is. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
just going through the ho hum routine. Like I'm going to Target here, and then I'm getting in my car and driving this long drive with all concrete walls here. Then I'm gonna stare at my phone all day. Then I'm gonna, yeah.
it's heavy.
Are you craving the best shower experience with a body wash that is legitimately luxurious with skin-loving ingredients like aloe to hydrate and help support the skin's moisture barrier? Fret no more, because Osea has just launched a brand new product, a seaweed-boosted body wash infused with their iconic Undaria algae body oil. I am legitimately obsessed with it, and it is by far my favorite new product of theirs. Osea is a clean, vegan, cruelty-free skin and body care brand that is mother-daughter founded and made with high-performance ingredients. The Undaria algae body wash leaves your skin feeling soft and renewed. It has a pH-balanced formula that cleanses without drying or stripping, and it is mineralizing to help promote radiant, healthy-looking skin. This body wash feels so luxurious, it smells amazing, and their beautiful glass containers will stand out in a beautiful way in your home. Go to OseaMalibu.com and enter the code SKINLOVE. Also, I recommend pairing the new body wash with their Salt of the Earth body scrub and end your routine with their Undaria algae body oil for the ultimate skin glow. Go to OseaMalibu.com and enter the code LOVE10 for 10% off. It is hard to like not be in it in a, like, how do you do this in a healthy way where you're in this world without like, I'm going to go peace out into the boonies? How do you find that balance?
Well, I feel like I live in between worlds, you know, and I did peace out. You know, I went to Peru. I lived in Peru for almost 7 months. And this was when I had a major breakthrough with my connection to self and all these things. You know, it's really like honoring, you know, what you're here to achieve as far as the love that you want to provide, you know, like finding that. I do have one toe in and one toe out sometimes, where I never want to be on any social media or doing any of this stuff. Just put me in the forest.
Yeah.
You know, let me create babies. I have that in my mind. Like, okay, like maybe that's just what I'm supposed to be doing. But I also, like you talked about, we're here to help people. You know, it's also part of the martyr energy that I have in my human design, where like, I'm going to die for this. I'm going to go out guns blazing like Tupac. You know what I mean? Like, like I'm all in for the cause. And the martyr energy, which a lot of people carry, is a very powerful and unique energy, but it's also very dangerous. You don't want to take everything on yourself, because when you do that, sometimes you can collapse, and then you're just, you know, you're blaming yourself and you become a victim. I think first and foremost, we got to get the convictions of who we are. We need to write it out. There's something about writing this whole thing out. Why did everyone write and sign contracts back in the day? Why is writing so powerful? Because you're putting it into a different dimension by putting it on a canvas or a paper or something. Write it out. Do some isolation work. Go to a Vipassana. Go and spend time at a retreat or something. Get out in the land. Get to the forest. You know, I'm not going to tell people to do psychedelics all day long, but maybe you need to expand on something with trained people. Who knows? This is now becoming mainstream science now. Like the pharmaceutical industry is tripping because there are psychoactive compounds that are doing things way better than any drug. But I think at the end of the day, get healthy all around.
Yeah, I've actually never done any of that stuff. I've never done, what is it called? Ayahuasca? Any of that. I've actually never even smoked weed. Not because I'm like, oh, I definitely will not. It's just never have. Never felt a need.
And that's part of your journey. That's your path, right?
Yeah.
What's somebody else's journey? That's their journey, because it presented itself, and that was part of their path. I don't think it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I just think it could get wrong if it's abused.
Yeah.
And it's not an intention. You with me? Just like anything else.
Yeah.
We're eating food. You have to be an intention when you're eating. It has to be ceremony. Every time we sit down for food at my house, it's a ceremony. It's not, we're not watching TV and shoveling food down our mouth.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Food is an energy, and that has to be a process. When I smoke ceremonial tobacco once a year, it's a ceremony.
Yeah.
I have intention around it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's really important to address the aspect of discipline, like you said. When people are just dabbling in how to get healthier, you might just not be sure how far to go, where's the balance of where you should be. But the more that you're doing a discipline, the easier it becomes if you step out of it for a minute. Like, oh, okay, that was too far. I'm going to go back into this. Like, oh, I had this isn't feeling great. I'm going to go back here. But if you don't have that baseline routine where you know what helps you feel your best, what makes you feel your best, then it's a lot harder. That's why it just takes like baby steps until you get to that place of, oh, this feels good. This
That's
is
right.
this food I'm eating, the amount of sunshine I'm getting, the sleep I'm getting. This feels really good. And then you might have a few nights where you're staying up way too late. And then you're like, oh, after that third night, you're like, oh, that's not, I need to go back to that.
That's
Go
right.
back to more sleep.
Yeah. And that's treating yourself like you love yourself and you're worth calibrating. You're worth like tuning in and seeing how these additions are upgrading my life. One of the ancient practices is called the Rosicrucian practice. Are you familiar with Rosicrucianism? So this is like the ancient veil of order of mystics. And one of the main practices outside of all their spirituality is before they go to bed every night, they would replay every situation that happened throughout the day, every interaction, everything that they've experienced, and they would evaluate it. And they would look at why did they, what made them angry, what made them frustrated, what brought them joy. And they would tune in like scientists that are specifically looking at every variable. And imagine doing that for 60 days straight, where you monitored everything. And it's not militaristic. It's more just observing. It's observing how your life is improving.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah. And even as a parent, like that would be so helpful as a parent.
Totally.
Because you'll see what things triggered me. Why did that trigger me? Why did that bother me? You said this earlier too. The power of the mind. The mind is so powerful. The way you choose to receive something. If somebody says something in a way that was rude or whatever, it's your choice to take it in a way that's personal or step outside of it. Like you said, getting in the now, which I think that's such a good thing to teach kids.
Yeah.
When they're feeling really upset by something, like stop, look around you.
That's right.
Like you're safe.
That's right.
You're in this comfortable bed right now and it's beautiful. You have greenery all around you. You have a full belly. Like everything's okay. You can feel what you're feeling. That's good.
Totally.
But like bring you back to earth,
You're by doing that with your children and yourself, you are laying the ground force down for them to develop appreciation and gratitude, right? Everyone's like vitamin G, gratitude. But in order to fundamentally like intrinsically understand or understand what gratitude is, it's through those types of practices, which you're flexing a muscle, right? And children realizing, that they had to grow their own food or where food comes from, they start to appreciate things. And this creates an epigenetic switch. Are you familiar with the concept of epigenetics?
I have said no to every question you've asked me.
Okay,
Asked me.
So epigenetics.
I've heard of it, but I would like not enough to be able to explain it. You said, what is it? So go ahead and explain it.
So epi means above the genetics. So we've learned over the last 45, 50 years that we're not prisoners to our genome or the expression of our genetics, that the expression actually occurs through our environmental factors, right? Environmental factors are, the water we're drinking, the parenting that we got, what the family house feels like, the energy of the family, what we're exposed to, what we're not exposed to. All of those things can switch on dis-ease or keep you from disease. And the epigenetic code is pretty simple when you think about it. The biology of belief, your belief systems are going to dictate the outcome. This is beyond the placebo effect. And so by you creating that environment with your children where all of them are feeling grateful to be part of this experience and they're learning and practicing and operating under that fundamental law, you're now developing children that are evolving into empathetic beings. And the empathetic human being is opening themselves up to unlimited, limitless potential in this life. It's the poor children that were never able to experience that are at major deficits in terms of their ability to see themselves grow and evolve and expand. And we're seeing also major diseases that belong into those particular groups because it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Steiner said disease begins in the mind. Outside of
Yes.
a couple rare diseases
I'm
that
with
are
you there.
hereditary or
Yep.
all disease begins in the mind. It's your
Yeah.
thoughts, emotions, which create your actions or lack of actions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
creates, you create
100%.
your own suffering.
Like the
Right.
worry that you feel in your life, if you're feeling worried and you're having a really hard time being in the now, it affects every part of your body in
Yep.
such a way that you can't even sleep, you can't even eat, or maybe you're eating too much. Like depends on the person. Like
Yep.
it affects you in such a negative way
That's right.
if you're letting that worry get out of hand.
Yeah.
How do you, if you're ever feeling that, how do you bring it back?
Well, I think we got to get back to the basics and to the fundamental basics of what human beings are. You know, we are, we have an unlimited ability to put ourselves in emotional danger, right? Just think about how crazy that is. There's a really good book. I talk about it in a lot of my lectures, Why Zebras Get Ulcers, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Have you read that?
No, I haven't, but I like the title.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. So the zebra is relaxing with its friends on the Serengeti. Everything is perfect. They're eating some food, they're sleeping. And in a split second, a female lion is chasing that zebra to eat it alive. And that zebra needs to go from a completely calm, relaxed, parasympathetic state, heart rate variability, blood pressure, everything goes from standard homeostatic to extreme sympathetic, which is fight, flight, running full speed trot to survive.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the zebras get away a majority of the time. And they studied and researched it. Within 5 minutes of the chase being done, the zebras are totally back to normal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All their physiology is back to homeostasis. Yet human beings, we don't have a real lion chasing us, but we've made millions of lions that we have projected into the realms of thought that are harbored within our emotional and physical bodies of symptomology and other frustrations, which have basically turned into autoimmune conditions and then more pathological diseases down the line.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly in this unregulated, dysregulated stress system, which is creating acids in the body, acidosis in the body, and all other ailments. It all goes downstream and we don't even know it. And we're no wonder why, we're waking up at middle of the night and feeling the adrenaline kick in. There's no wonder why our biological clock or circadian rhythm is unbalanced. There's no wonder why, we're having our complete hormonal system break apart and we need to get on, synthetic hormones and other replacement stuff. I can go on and on. A regular heartbeat, skin issues, a lot of skin conditions are all coming from dysregulated stress. So what do we do about it? I mean, we got to go back to the basics. And for me, it's always sunlight, grounding to the earth, spending time alone, doing the things that we talked about earlier, eating the right foods, understanding who we are physiologically, not comparing ourselves to others, taking it day by day by day, and not pushing things out and procrastinating. Procrastination is the root of all evil, in my opinion. There's nothing worse than that. We have to take action now. We cannot wait around for someone to come save us. So like if you're listening to this, get honest with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror. I've done that before. I've stared at myself in the mirror for 36 hours.
Really?
36. Yeah. That if you don't want to do psychedelics, do that.
Do that.
Because at some point your bullshit comes out. And no matter what, we all have a level of bullshit within us,
we do.
right?
Yeah.
And that bullshit is heavy on us. It's subconsciously heavy. And the subconscious is infinitely more powerful than the conscious state. I learned that from Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's a good friend of ours. And, have you ever, sometimes I take my phone calls on drives because it just works out that way. And sometimes I'll drive from, Orange County to San Diego or to LA, and I'm on the call the whole time. And then I get to my destination. I'm like, how did I get here?
How did I even get here?
So the subconscious took over the drive. I'm sitting here driving a 4,000 pound metal object through other metal objects at 80 miles an hour. And yet my subconscious did the whole drive. That's how powerful the subconscious is. So if the subconscious is buried with so much trauma and so much suppressed feelings and self-hate and self-doubt, and think how that's controlling your life.
Katori Life has the most beautiful 100% ethical recycled gold, bronze, and silver jewelry. My absolute favorite is their Orion's belt ring with champagne diamonds that mirrors the belt of the Orion. Seen in the sky for thousands of years, many ancient cultures watched for this constellation with reverence because as it rose, it carried the promise of spring, new life, and rebirth. There's never been a better way to support ethically sourced fine jewelry than from Katori Life, who are lovers of the earth and all of her magic, and whose ethos is slow fashion, providing generous, fair wages to all their employees. Get an exclusive 20% off Katori Life with any purchase entering my code Ellen Fisher. Every piece, like I've said before, plants 10 tiny trees. So you not only get an incredible deal, but feel really good about planting a tiny forest too. Get your new jewels at katorilife.com. That's CATORILIFE.com. This deal is only available for a limited time with my code Ellen Fisher. And we'll take on not only trauma that we physically experience, but other people's trauma from hearing a story.
Exactly.
You can hear a story, watch a movie.
Drug.
Yeah.
That's a drug. That's why we're addicted to, fear news and fear porn and scary movies and, all the death stuff and all that kind of stuff, because it's giving us a slight escapism and it's also eliciting a dopamine rush.
Yeah, it's the hit. And also that's why our social media and the types of online content that we as a species have chosen to watch over the years has gotten shorter and shorter and quicker because our attention span has gotten so short. Back,
what attention span?
Exactly. There's nothing.
It's like
it's non-existent.
It went from 18 seconds to 12 to 7.
It's real bad.
3. Now it's like 1.2.
Think about before TikTok and Reels and all that. Instagram used to just be pictures, and before that, it was like, a long form talk show I would watch. And it just got shorter and shorter and shorter to where everything is so fast. I remember the first time someone showed me a TikTok video. I don't have TikTok. I'm never going to get it. But someone showed it to me. I will not. I'm not going on it.
Thank you.
Instagram has become a form of it, but
we will not participate in that.
But I'm not going to go on
We
TikTok.
don't throw the hook.
Yes, not going to do it.
And put the fear in the first 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I got the solution.
Yeah, totally.
Dude, social media.
Like you see the dance and then the different music and then a different text all going on at the same exact time. And I'm like, that was so fast. And just thinking that this is what like 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds and even 17-year-olds are looking at all day. Like, how can you even function? How do you function like that? And anytime, one more thing, when I am feeling stressed, if I ever go outside or I'm worried or whatever, because sometimes worry can take up over in my brain, and my husband is so good at bringing me back down to earth with realities.
That's his job. That's part of his embodiment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's who I need him to be, and that's who he needs to be for me. Sometimes he'll help me with that, or I'll go outside and just lay on the grass and look at the sky, and instantly, it transforms the way that I'm feeling so quick just by laying on the ground in the grass outside and looking at the sky versus being inside on a computer, on a screen, whatever. It's a massive difference.
Yeah, because you're probably activating codes within you that your human body remembers. You're the primal goo of your ancestors. Just think about that.
Yeah.
And so within that goo is DNA and information and codes. And because we're in this newfound system, we're like, what the hell's going on? We're not designed to be in temperature regulated homes with temperature regulated light systems, ordering DoorDash. We were just talking about it. We're supposed to be out there searching for our food, picking our food, growing our food, being part of that cultivation in the elements, oxygenating, moving the lymphatic system, energizing, a little bit of fear here and there, which is good for the immunity system, inflammatory system, all these things. But we're so nurtured and coddled that the body's falling apart and it has no reason to survive.
Yeah.
Just think about how crazy that is. Like, because we're so sedentary, the actual genome, the physiology is not needing to live. There's no reason to live. Did you get that?
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying.
So if you're not moving, that's why they're like, just 10,000 steps a day, just
on
get
your
it
treadmill.
in. Yeah, that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But we're really not supposed to be sitting and sedentary and living in the artificial world. we have to be moving, expanding, and all of these different things
A
have to
lot
be
of these
occurring.
like longest living people are in their gardens like 5 hours a day.
You totally.
Like they're outside. I'm just so glad that my children, as they get older, they know how to start a garden. They know how to grow their own food.
The blue zone stuff's kind of bullshit. It's all it is you're just, it's not blue zone. It's just people in those zones are moving.
Yeah.
It's just
Exactly.
Yeah, they're moving and
They're
they're
doing
part
all
of
those
the
things.
thing. Yeah, they're not, it's there's no in between stages of sitting. It's like,
Yeah.
and the body needs that.
Yeah.
The soul needs that.
Yeah.
I love getting outside under the stars on the earth. I mean, just witnessing the sky clock and what's happening above, the astrology, bringing that into the eye and into the brain.
Yeah.
We take for granted like what the optics are,
Yeah.
just how powerful of a sense that is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
We
right
don't
now
even
appearing in your brain as an image, and you're in an image in mine, but how is that actually happening on a quantum level? Right? Light is refracting, hitting my proteins of my face, hitting your retina, going down the cones of your eyes, hitting your optic nerve, creating an image in 0.03 seconds. It's like this, it's a magic, right? And that's just one of the senses. Think about the olfactory setting of smell and sound. Just, it's incredible.
Totally.
Yeah.
And people do really recognize it when they see it in real life, because most people are not doing these kinds of things to show up in a world this way. Like I think about even my son, my oldest son, one of his baseball coaches said, you know, he came up to me, it was the first time I met him. He's like, your son, he is one of the only kids that looks me in the eye. And I think it's just so few kids are doing all these things that you're saying, where they're in the garden. Like when's the last time that kids are like laying in the grass staring at the stars at night? Like how few kids are doing that these days. We're in the 80s and the 90s. Like that's all you did.
That's it.
Playing outside, doing all that stuff.
That's all I did. I was in every canyon, every beach. I was a terror of my neighborhood. I was a menace. You know,
Totally.
I had a whole crew behind me. We were going berserk.
It's like
but that's
Sandlot.
part of it. Yeah, it was like Sandlot. We were just, you know, that was it. We're spying on all the neighbors. We're climbing trees, climbing over roofs. It's just that was like, that was the culture. But at least I was out moving around and investigating and doing that, as opposed to playing video games or whatever bullshit they're doing today.
Yeah. I'm delay with the smartphones for kids, I think is like one of
the dumb
the
phones.
biggest thing. Yeah, the dumb phones.
Yeah.
So I like there's so much goodness that has come from it, right? But there's so much downside.
We're not even talking the fact that these devices are radioactive devices.
Sitting on my lap right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, get that away from your womb area.
So true. I mean, I'm done having kids, but yeah.
No, but still, that's a very important part of your anatomy and everything. And these are lithium batteries that should be in the earth. They shouldn't be out here. There's a reason why whatever created this design put lithium into the earth.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about like the dangers of removing it from the earth, like ley lines and electrical centers of our earth it's there for a reason.
Well, what do you think about electric cars?
I'll never drive in one. I'll never own one. My one of my best friends, he's also my business partner and CEO. Yeah, he's always telling me, you got to get an electric car. You know, I know how much you care about the environment, and he's coming from a good place.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the idea of sitting under 2,000 pounds of a lithium battery in a metal object that's moving.
Yeah.
That sounds really hectic to me.
I mean, on top of it, I think that there's a misconception on how much better it is for the earth anyway. It's like
not.
These batteries, where do they go when the car is done? Like
they don't go anywhere.
There's not, like, it is actually not necessarily any better for the environment.
It's gnarly.
Yeah.
And we don't even know the 1/1,000,000th of it. There's probably so many
There's so much we don't know.
There's so much we don't know.
There's so much we don't know. It's crazy. Okay, so I want to shift a little bit into like some more specifics. Like we've been talking big picture. This is so interesting. I could probably go on for 3 more hours about it. But specifically, I wanted to ask you a little bit about supplements, because this is, you know, you founded Cymbiotika, an incredible supplement brand, and it is so clear how much care and quality is put into these products, and just the ingredients, how pure they are. It's so hard to navigate supplements, I think, for people in general. And it's hard to find supplements with really clean ingredients that are actually effective, that actually work. So how did you found Cymbiotika? Why did you choose these specific supplements that are on the site? Why these ones?
So Cymbiotika was, you know, it was a perfect situation because I'd been around the supplement industry since I was a little kid. As you know, my cousin's David Wolf,
Mm-hmm.
and he mentored me since I was age 9 or 10. This is around the time that he was becoming a world famous raw foodist.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I was 13, 14, he was the authority on raw food and had released Nature's First Law.
Mm-hmm.
And I was this 12, 13-year-old meeting all kinds of incredible people, from Ron Teagarden to, these are master Taoist, traditional Chinese herbal medicine people, to Ayurvedic masters. And I was
Mm-hmm.
traveling all around with them. And then the whole Rudolf Steiner thing was expanding. And so I was just presented this at a very early age. And I learned about, the medical system and big food agriculture and monocropping and all the thing, herbicide, fungicide, larvicide, insecticide, all the suicides of, what industrial farming is done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that cultivated me becoming a qualitarian. I never went into any hardcore ism. I was never a raw foodist. I was never a vegan. I never labeled myself. I just said that I was going to pick with my intuition what foods work for me based on my experience and my physiology and the education that I had. Fast forward, 15, 20 years later, I saw a huge gap in the industry. And I noticed that everybody was just slapping a label onto something, and it was a race to the bottom. And we know the pharmaceutical industry is a symptomology first system, which comes with a whole host of issues. And talk about escapism, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, how do I put duct tape over the check engine
How do I
light?
hide the pain but not solve the issue?
Correct, which is just ridiculous. And
Mm-hmm.
I think people are starting to understand that. But if you get caught in the trap, you're stuck in that trap. You got to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the supplement industry. I saw so many people, and I still see it today, holistic people, holistic advocates that come to me with a certain issue and say, what can I take to solve this?
Mm-hmm.
That is an allopathic perspective. We have to get to the root of health. We have to understand where this problem comes from outside of taking something to solve it. I don't care if it's a drug or it's a fermented form of ashwagandha. It's still an allopathic way of thinking. This is what created Cymbiotika. I wanted to become a transparent mission maker. I wanted to show the world you can do this the right way, and you're not basing your business around margins. You're basing it around actually helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2017, I put the initiative together, and it was a very gnarly time for me. My dad had gotten sick, who was my best friend, my brother, my father, my everything. And so much of the pain of that experience went into the purpose of developing and creating Cymbiotika. And so I started traveling all over the world and meeting, some of the best at their field, extractors, farmers, all of these things. And then from there, created our first formula. And then within a year, my brother, one of my best friends, who's an incredible, big-hearted entrepreneur, called me one day and said, I really want my kids to remember me for helping the world. He had a father school day with his kids, and he was heading there, and he's like, what the hell am I going to tell him? I'm really good at making money. And
Yeah.
that hit him. And he was watching what I was doing, and he's like, I just want to be involved. You just focus on these things. Don't worry about this stuff. This is what I do best. And then within, 6 months to a year, he'd moved his entire family back to California. And here we are now, 150 employees, changing the game of health and really creating a movement as opposed to a supplement brand. And our products are food-based products. There's an average of 12 to 15 compounds per formula. They're live, living ecosystem formulas that provide all aspects of nutrition. And our liposomal technology, as far as how we create bioavailability and how these products are produced and the timestamp that they're produced, because these things are made immediately and they go out. This isn't sitting on some shelf. These are live living stuff that have to be cold storaged. I mean, it is a mother, if you get what I'm saying,
Yeah.
to develop this. And that was part of the challenge, because if you compare our products with 99% of the products in the space, we have the worst margins, the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes an issue when you're trying to functionally grow a brand and grow a company.
Yeah.
But we both agreed, both me and him both agreed that we weren't going to sacrifice 1% of who Cymbiotika is. And we just put ourselves around so many able and epic souls that believe in that same mission. And here you have an incredible family that is just growing and expanding in truth and building the best products on earth. And we're just getting started. I call it Cymbiotika 3.333. That's about to come out. And it's just some of the most epic formulas are on deck.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What do you think about therapeutic dosing? Because a lot of the supplements out there have these, like, they'll be like, it has acai and this, but it's like the tiniest little doses.
You're talking about like homeopathy?
Just
Well, homeopathy is having a signature of an herb influenced it, but you're not even talking about homeopathy.
Yeah,
You're talking about bullshit supplements.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I have a very. Can I say I have a problem with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I have a problem with people spending their hard-earned money
Yeah.
and really just pissing out bullshit and not getting any agency out of it. They're not reaping the benefits of what these supplements are, and they're just becoming a formality bullshit placebo effect,
Yeah.
which wears off in 2 weeks and does absolutely no good, if there even is a placebo effect, because they even know what the hell it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Cymbiotika, it's education first. If we're going to create a B complex formula or B12 formula that's got 3 active forms of B12, B6, L-methylfolate, all in liposomal form with fulvic acid, I want everyone to understand what methylation means. I want to understand why do the B vitamins give you energy? How does that work on a cellular level? That's part of what we do at Cymbiotika, is we're so education forward. And we talked about discernment, right? If you're not discerning, then you're not making the right choice, and you're not choosing you, then there's no self-love.
And how long should you stick with a supplement before knowing if it's working?
Okay, so there's certain, so these aren't drugs. So right, we're not trying to elicit like these crazy drug responses.
Right.
But there are certain products that have an immediate response, just because some people are so depleted and they haven't had the nutrients available to them. Now, I'm under the learning that we should be getting our nutrition from our food, okay? Which is why I'm a farmer, why I'm a biodynamic farmer, why we grow some of the most incredible fruits in Kauai. And when I'm on the land, I'm becoming a frugivore. That's just kind of my whole thing. It's like a cycle. Just like we have seasons, our body goes through seasons.
Yeah.
And that's a Ayurvedic approach. That's a TCM approach as well. When it comes to supplementation, we have to really understand what is depleted in our current construct.
Yeah.
All the nutrients, for the most part, are pretty much depleted, from the B vitamins to the minerals to the healthy fats. And so what I wanted to do was embed all of those nutrients into an easy experience that is not only easy, but very fun, and elicits an organoleptic response, meaning it tastes good.
Is that why you do liquid instead of tablet, or what's the reason?
The liquid's for bioavailability.
So it's better for you. Works better.
Works way better. The bioavailability it's very difficult to make. It's very difficult to suspend. Our technology, all of the things around that. These are raw, live materials. Again, this isn't stuff that's been sitting in a shelf for 3 years, then mixed in a capsule, dry powdered. No, we're talking about living extracted compounds. I mean, just look at our formulas. But most people are depleted in a lot of these things, like magnesium, for example. Everyone's like, magnesium. But what the hell is magnesium? Magnesium is the mineral that creates communication between cells. It's an ionic exchange. It has that subatomic charge. Every mineral has a subatomic charge. Zinc has a subatomic charge. Chromium has a subatomic charge. Silica has a subatomic charge. Magnesium's main job is to create cellular communication, and through that, thousands of biochemical processes, almost like a coenzyme. It helps the manufacturing of coenzymes. Enzymes are needed for every tissue in the body, every nerve in the body, every sexual hormone in the body, digestion, elimination, detoxification, all of those things, anabolic, catabolic, all of those things. So if you're lacking magnesium in the body, then you're depleted completely, and you're trying to elicit some kind of stimulant, which is why people are addicted to, coffee and other, different types of drugs that stimulate you, when you're the entire time you're just completely depleted of nutrients. So if you look at our product line, from our B vitamins to our brain magnesium, which is the Magtine, if you look at our D3K2 CoQ10 combo, all of the stuff, our Shilajit, which we provide the most Shilajit on earth. It's incredible. you'll see that we're really just creating a well-balanced approach to getting your body back to homeostasis as if you're eating, living, digging in a biodynamic garden in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah. I think it's really important for people to understand that about soil degradation and how few of us are getting food on a consistent basis from nutrient-rich soil. And it just shows how much that everybody is coming to the table with needing something to supplement because we are in this imperfect world.
We're in it. You can go to Whole Foods right now and go to their organic produce section, and you can see really nice red leaf lettuce and zucchinis and broccolini and all these other things that look really good and they taste pretty good.
Yeah.
But I would fare to venture that 95% of that produce is not grown in soil, mineralized, rich, regenerative soil. The term organic just means that it doesn't have most of the the chemical toxins that I mentioned earlier. Not only glyphosate, but other other sides. And so if it's lacking those nutrients, then you're basically getting empty nutrient content. Now, I mentioned this on another podcast. When I see an overweight 12-year-old, I don't see a kid that's eating too much. I actually see a kid that's starving, is starving of nutrients, and is just getting empty calories in. And so again, Cymbiotika, really the purpose behind the brand is to bring people back to balance in a homeostasis way, a fun way, an experiential way, a teaching way, a fundamental way, so they can start gaining faculties that have major gaps. And we're talking about digestion, we're talking about immunity, we're talking about skin health, cognitive health, sleeping, cardiovascular, liver function, adrenal function, detoxification pathways, methylation pathways. All of those are compromised or are coming together and colliding in the entire portfolio that we offer at Cymbiotika.
Yeah, and this goes back to not just taking the Cymbiotika or taking supplements to solve the problem. This is a foundation of your lifestyle, of everything that you're doing. And it's like one piece to the puzzle.
That's right. And we're a total family doing it. Like I have a Telegram room where it's like so many of our Cymbiotika people are on there, and the Cymbiotika family has grown so much that people are communicating with each other and talking about, hey, this worked for me, and how do you supplement with this? What's your best strategy here? We're a living ecosystem and we're all growing and expanding. You asked me, why am I working so much? It's because I'm forever a student.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like 10 of our top products, those have evolved over the last 5 years, maybe 10 to 15 times.
Wow.
Just think about how crazy that is.
Yeah. Most people just like one and done, it's out and it's done.
No, we're completely our best friend and our worst nightmare at the same time, because we can't steadfast, because there's so many things that I like, I'm involved in the trade shows. I have a team around me that are awesome scientists, chemists, everyone, top formulas, and everyone, we're all talking. We talk once a week. We gather information. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? What about this? What about that? We just found this raw material supplier out of New Zealand that's doing XYZ. Epic. Send me a sample. Get me on the phone with them. Let me learn about what they're doing. Let me set up something that we can figure out. Let's bring that to Cymbiotika. Yeah. That's what we're doing. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's awesome.
It's like artistry. It's being an artist.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Cool. If you want to find your purpose in life, look at it through the lens of your own artistry.
Yeah.
Become an artist. Not what you need to do to survive or to pay the bills, but to be an artist.
Yeah. So many people are lacking creativity in their life.
Yeah. And that's our expression. That's our gene. That's our love. That's how we develop oxytocin and other neurochemicals like serotonin and dopamine and anandamide, the bliss molecule. It's incredible.
But they're proud of something they created.
Yes.
Can you talk about grounding and rising sun exposure that you've mentioned a couple times? What exactly is grounding and why? How do you do it? And when you mean rising sun exposure, do you just mean like when you wake up, the first thing you do is go outside? Or is it more than that?
Yeah, no, there's so many cool things to talk about it, but I just find it so funny. Like I remember when I was 15 and I learned about grounding, and I'm like, I do that every day.
Yeah, just go outside.
I surf every day. I'm on the beach. I'm soaking up everything.
Climbing trees.
Yeah, I don't wear sunblock.
Yeah.
I'm like on the feet, connected to the earth. What we know now is that the Earth has a magnetic field called the Schumann resonance. It's a bioenergy field, and it's offsetting a certain decibel of electricity. And you're electric. Your
Mm-hmm.
entire body and system and everything from your body, not just your heart, is running on electrical current. The reason why your heart's beating is through an electric current between the difference between acid and alkalinity.
Mm-hmm.
It's that polarity that creates a heartbeat,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is why it's so important to have an acidic gut and alkalinity throughout your body. This is why we eat, certain fruits and certain herbs, things of that nature. It keeps the body in check. And so if your body's disconnected from the earth, you're living on the 24th floor of a building and you're surrounded by Wi-Fi and you're getting hit with all these non-native electromagnetic frequencies, your body's static, the balance that keeps you in coherence and keeps your body healthy, starts to dwindle. When it starts to dwindle, then you start to suffer. You have emotional problems, you have emotional breakdowns, your circadian rhythm breaks down, you have cognitive decline, your endocrine system starts to suffer, thyroid starts to sputter, hypothalamus isn't working, pituitary gland's not working. All of a sudden, now you're in trouble, and now you're reaching for things, and you don't know what to do, and then you go to the doctor, and they put you on Synthroid, right? It's just unbelievable, right? When the
Yeah.
whole time it's because you're not connected to the earth and you're demineralized,
Yeah.
or you're dehydrated too. I would
And
all
just the power of the mind, like
the power of the mind.
all that stuff together combined.
That's right. Because it's not. There's no functionality to it because you're disconnected.
You're disconnected.
So grounding to the earth allows you to off gas a lot of that energy and neutralize a lot of the free radical damage that's occurring from the lack of negative electrons that you're supposed to be getting. This is electrical energy that powers something called the mitochondria. All disease is a mitochondrial dysfunction. And that's a whole podcast in itself because that's one of my favorite topics, and it correlates directly into water, which is one of my favorite subjects, and deuterium depleted water, which is a whole nother subject, which is basically an isotope of hydrogen.
What's your favorite water?
Spring water.
Okay.
I'm a spring water guy. I will not drink any other type of water. I mean, it was worse. If push came to shove, then I'm going through like a 12-stage epic filtration system.
Yeah.
But I'm a spring water hunter. I've been all over the world hunting springs. I'm all into vortexes, structured water, deuterium depleted water. Cold, ice cold spring water is electric, alive water that has information that my body recognizes. And that's what hydration truly means, intracellular hydration. Also getting, Celtic sea salt. I've been talking about Celtic sea salt for 15 years straight publicly. It's now becoming like a wave. Everyone's talking about it. Make sure every rise, you get up, you drink a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt, get your molecular
A
hydrogen.
whole teaspoon.
Yeah, I do a whole teaspoon and 30 ounces of water.
In 30.
But that's where I'm at. That's where I've built it
Yeah.
at. So if you haven't been doing that, start with a pinch.
Yeah.
Then maybe a month later, 2-3 pinches. Just go at your own accord.
What do you think about how people say we're getting too much sodium? Like, of course we need salt, but like for people who eat like really high sodium diets, would you still recommend something like that?
I would, as long as it's sea salt, because
Yeah.
it's the potassium and the chlorides and the magnesium that you're getting in the sea salt will help neutralize that sodium. We need sodium. Sodium is really
we do.
critical
Yeah.
for intracellular processes, being human. But you're right. We're getting that we're out of balance with too much sodium because it's the main preservative in just about every piece of processed food in the world.
So what's the benefit again to sea salt in the water?
Well, it's electrolyzing your body. It's elevating your blood pressure on the rise without tapping into your adrenal glands. So that's kind of a hack. I don't like the term biohacking, but it's kind of it's shifting the energy so you have more adrenal power throughout the day. It's electrolyzing your body. It's causing detoxification. It's the perfect form of hydration.
Yeah.
And then I follow that up with molecular hydrogen, which is what we offer at Cymbiotika, which is incredible. It's got the most peer-reviewed published studies.
Yeah.
Hydrogen is the smallest, molecule on the periodic table. It is just an incredible amount of data around it. And it crosses every barrier in the body. And it literally turns on the production of endogenous antioxidants in the body, like glutathione. It helps alleviate a very terrible, I wouldn't say terrible, it's part of our evolution of being. Terrible is the wrong word. There's a free radical called hydroxyl, which acts like a whirling dervish in our DNA. And molecular hydrogen neutralizes that free radical. That free radical leads us to decay, disease, and basically oxidative stress, which basically is a lack of electrons in the body, which is what aging is.
Yeah.
Aging is a disease. Just think about that. We've realized that aging is actually a disease, and the longer we can stay in the health span instead of going into the disease span, the better shot we have at reaching peak potential and being healthy and happy. It's not about living to 500 years.
Right. Yeah.
It's about not being completely sedentary and being a burden to your family at age 75.
Yeah. You want to feel your best the longest
That's
that
right.
you can.
And you want to look your best.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like, let's not like this whole thing about like vanity and stuff like that. I think it's gone overboard with social media and the whole, thing. But like the side effect of taking care of yourself is looking good.
Mm-hmm.
The side effect of doing what you love to do is abundance.
Yeah.
What's your why? What's driving you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're in a false identity and you're just doing this to look a certain way, you're going to collapse.
Yeah. It's just a side effect.
It's just a side effect. And it's the same thing with how we eat every day, how we chew our food, our breath work, right? Which I hate calling it breath work. Breathe. We got to breathe.
Just got to breathe.
I'm rapid firing right now, so I'm not breathing.
Yeah.
And I can feel elevated. I can feel my adrenals sending out adrenals because it's something that's telling my body that I might get into a fight right now, or I'm running away from something because I'm not properly breathing. Most people are breathing 40 to 50 times a minute. We should be breathing 4 to 5 times a minute max. That's deep diaphragmatic breath from our diaphragm.
4 to 5 times a minute.
Yeah. Every 15 seconds we should be taking a breath, or every 12 seconds.
Okay.
That's the math, right? So
right.
Just that in itself should be about 6-7 seconds. Then you hold, and then it's 6-7 seconds out. That's 15 seconds right there.
Yeah.
4 times.
Add on top of it the stress-filled life that everyone's in, working in our cubicles, driving in our cars where people are flipping you off as you're driving by. Like, it's so different than this picture you're describing.
It really is. That's why we jump in cold water. That's why we go in
cold plunge.
That's why we go in hot saunas. That's why that's called hormetic activation. Are you familiar with the term hormesis?
No.
That which does not kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we need that. Just like, if you sprain your ankle, your ankle swells because of inflammation, because it's sending growth factors and blood and white blood cells to heal it. But idiot allopathic science tells you to put ice on it, which constricts the blood vessels, so none of those things happen. It keeps it from swelling, but you're starving the body's ability to respond to that. We need hormetic activations. Remember I said sedentary lifestyle will lead you to cancer, metabolic syndrome, right? Like, varicose veins and adipose fat tissue and visceral fat, and then insulin issues, metabolic issues. All of a sudden you're diabetic, you know what I mean? All those things. We need hormetic things. So jumping in a cold river in Iceland when it's 33 degrees, it's sending a shock wave. Survive, right? Now, it's real. If you're already under the cusp of health and all those like alarm systems are already on, and your thyroid, and you shouldn't do that. And there's a lot of women especially that are under a lot of stress, and they're having these types of issues, autoimmune conditions, things like that, where the body is confused. Ice bath isn't your best friend.
Right.
But if you are now moving forward in an anabolic stage and you're growing in your health, these are the things that are good for you. Getting into shockwave proteins and shock heat therapy through 175-degree saunas. These are things that build resilience.
Yeah. And it's such a good feeling afterwards. I was able to sneak away from the kids for a couple nights with my friend to celebrate her birthday at a hotel on the Big Island. And we stayed at the spa that had like the most amazing outdoor gym. And then they had, free access to amenities to do the cold plunge and their sauna and their eucalyptus steam room. And you're supposed to like go around in this like 1 hour thing where you like hit all of them twice. After I worked out and then did all that and came out, I was like, I feel amazing. Like that feeling afterward, it's like incredible that most people, like, you don't really have opportunity to do that very much. You're just going through that same sedentary, repetitive life where you're not putting yourself in actual stress, but then your mind is stressed. Yeah.
Did you tap yourself on the back and go, hell yeah?
I was like, that was so good.
It's victory. It's triumph. You've persevered through something. And you're out on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And then when that becomes like an exercise, then you start developing that faculty. And next time somebody cuts you off on the street, you don't want to kill them,
No. Yeah.
right? Because you've already exercised that stress response.
Yep. And it's the practicing of like pausing before reacting, which is important in parenting, but also in every part of your life. Like, oh, that person just got mad at me on the road. Like, they might be having a hard day, you know?
Right.
Like,
empathy.
yeah.
Like, wish you well, brother. Wish you well, sister. Like,
Yeah.
there's obviously something going on.
Yeah. Totally.
And that's a tool for me too, because I could go do a 10-day Vipassana silent meditation and then put me back behind the wheel in LA. I'm ready to kill someone, you know? And so it's like, it's really good. We chop wood, we carry water, then we become enlightened. And then what do? You go to sleep, and then the next day you have to chop wood, carry water, and become enlightened. It's a practice. There's no finish line in this whole thing. There's no finish line in your health, in your cognitive ability, in your expansive empathetic reach. These are things that must be nurtured, and it's part of this experience of being alive.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like this is a great way to end it. That was super inspiring, and I'm
this
so
is just
thankful.
the beginning.
It is, yeah. Oh, end the conversation with just the beginning of what's to come.
It's always an honor to be able to channel with a like-minded soul and see yourself through the reflection of somebody else. And I love what you're doing, and it's an honor to be here. And however I can contribute to someone having the best day ever, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate
amazing.
Opening this up to come onto your platform and discuss some of the things that get me going.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Like, you are a super interesting, fascinating, and passionate person. I'm so glad I got to sit down and have this conversation with you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Total gratitude.